Oh, we got breaking news. Let's go through it together. It's coming from the Washington Post. The headline is that this whistleblower showdown between the president's acting intel chief and Congress now has a new twist. A reminder, the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph Maguire, has refused to hand over the complaint after a subpoena from the House Intel Committee chair, Adam Schiff. Now we're learning what that complaint may be about. Again, this comes from the Washington Post. It includes communication between the president and a foreign leader. Their sourcing is two former U.S. officials familiar with the matter, that this was about a phone call that the president had with a foreign leader. I'm going through it as I tell you about it, just to be careful about it. And the process is as we understood it. Somebody who knew about this phone call was concerned enough about the president making what they term a promise that was regarded as so troubling that it prompted an official in the U.S. intelligence community to file a former whistleblower complaint with a formal whistleblower complaint with the Inspector General for the intelligence community. So now here's where it gets sticky. If the IG, all right, here's the law since Watergate. If the Inspector General finds something to reach a certain level of what they call urgent concern, they are supposed to turn it over to congressional oversight committees. House Intel would be the logical place for something that is intelligence related to go, especially in light of this tacit agreement after Watergate, whereby Congress agreed with the intelligence community to handle confidential national security information a certain way, hence what you got with the Gang of Eight, that only certain congressional leaders will get certain sensitivities. So the question is, let's assume it's true. With who? That's not in here. Let's bring in Phil Mudd. Now, in this, they try to track whom he had spoken with. This complaint was filed with Atkinson's office, that's the Inspector General, August 12th. In the preceding weeks, they have him talking, on a call with Vladimir Putin on July 31st. They have him talking about at least two letters from Kim Jong-un. They have him maybe meeting with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Netherlands, and the Emir of Qatar. So let's just deal with the general notion here. Somebody says they heard something as an intel official that troubled them enough to lodge a formal complaint to the IG. How unusual?
Boy, I'm about ready to blow a gasket. Can you explain? That is extremely unusual. And I listened to presidential phone calls when I was an official at the White House under George W. Bush in 2001. Can you explain to me, A, why it's the U.S. intelligence community's responsibility to listen to the president of the United States speaking to a foreign leader, and B, why the U.S. intelligence community, under the rules provided by the Democrats in Congress, are responsible to report to the Congress what the President of the United States says. Last I checked, Chris, when I served, we're responsible for chasing the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, and terrorists. We're not responsible for reporting to the Congress what the president says. He can say what he wants, Chris.
So you don't like that somebody snitched on the president?
Correct. The question, if you have a whistleblower issue in the intelligence community, might be, is somebody misusing funds? For example, is somebody seeing something about covert action overseas, that is CIA operations overseas, that's inappropriate? For example, when I was in the business, we ran black sites, secret facilities. Mm-hmm. Did somebody see something that was not only unethical and immoral, but
in-house
illegal?
Policing.
Correct.
All right. So
not what does the president say?
All right, but now hold on a second. Well, what if he did say something to a foreign leader that sounded like a promise that went over the line enough that somebody of good conscience said he's not supposed to say things like this?
Well, pardon me, what the heck is over the line? The president can say what he wants to Putin. He can say what he wants to Kim Jong-un. He can say to Kim Jong-un, which I think is completely over the top, I'm going to go meet you in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, despite the fact that we don't have any real agreements, as far as I can tell, on nukes and missiles. The president can say what he wants. It's not the responsibility of the intel guys to go police the president and go snitch on him to the Congress. ridiculous. And now I understand. I didn't 2 hours ago. Now I understand why a former decorated SEAL, McGuire, the head of the intel community, was reluctant. Why does he have to go report on what the president says?
Well, if they have an agreement, a rule structure in place that if a complaint reaches an urgent concern level to the Inspector General, that Congress gets to see it, the obvious mechanism here is checks and balances. That
I don't
if it's
agree
that
with
big of a
that.
concern, that somebody's got to check power, right?
I don't agree with that. I think inspectors general, including those I saw at both the CIA and the FBI, are excellent. We despise them because they're so tough.
Sure.
But I want to ask the inspector general why it is, again, the responsibility of the intelligence community guys to say, we got to complain about what the president says, and we, the intel guys, have to go report to Congress about what's going on in the White House. The intel guys, last I checked, reported on North Korea and Iran, not on whether the president wants to make a promise to a foreign leader. I am ticked off. This is completely inappropriate, and the Congress should not be asking the intel guys to go snitch on the president. No.
So what is the mechanism for policing what is done in the White House?
Quit. Quit, and you can talk to the media if you want. You can write a book if you want. If you don't like what the president does, whether you're the Secretary of Defense, whether you're a National Security Advisor, whether you're Rex Tillerson, you go quit. You don't go say, well, I have a secret avenue to the Congress that, in my view, is inappropriate to go explain why the intel guys have to collect intelligence on the president. Exactly, by the way, exactly what the president alleges happened during the campaign. The intel guys are collecting on me, a politician. That's not what the intel guys do.
Well, unless they have reasonable suspicion. You remember when President Obama...
Suspicion of what, Chris?
Hold on a second.
Of a
remember
law?
when President Obama was talking to then Medvedev, right, the putative president of Russia, even though Putin was always still in control?
Yeah.
And he said, after the election, I'll have more room to work with you on this. And remember how the right was, you could say, reasonably worried? What the hell does that mean? Why is he saying something like that? There was curiosity. What was he planning? What was he thinking? There was a need for checks and balances, oversight. They wanted to dig. Was that wrong?
There's a difference between saying, does the Congress have the right to ask the White House questions and have a right to critique the White House on political issues and engagements with foreign leaders? There's a difference between that and the intelligence community and the intelligence oversight committee saying, you have a responsibility to report to us, you the intel guys, when you think the president does something inappropriate that's not illegal. The president can make promises overseas. That's not illegal. It might be inappropriate. Good luck to Adam Schiff and others to go hold the White House to account, not for the intel guys to report on the White House.
But if they don't give readouts of the calls, how else would anyone know what's being said?
Why would they give readouts on the calls? The president has a right to talk to foreign leaders without the Congress knowing everything he says. That's different than saying, did he do something that broke the law? That's
right.
different. Did he do something that violated regulations on how you conduct intelligence activities? If the president wants to tell Kim Jong-un or President Putin, here, I promise you this, and it's not illegal, I don't know why the intel guys would say that.
I hear you, and I appreciate the analysis. What I'm saying is, I guess the open question for both of us is, what did he say? Why did it concern this person enough to lodge the complaint? And does it go to what you're saying the threshold should be is it was a violation of the law?
You hit the nail on the head. The question is whether the individual heard something that he was so offended by he felt he needed to report, or did he hear something that he thought reached the threshold of illegal? I would still ask the question, why do the intel guys have to report that? Why doesn't he report that through another channel?
I hear you. Phil, I appreciate the analysis from someone who did the job. Yeah, it'd be nice. I thought you were going to pass out. It would actually be interesting to watch.